I just want you guys to look at Pierce, and Pierce has this like crouch forward postures, like head a little bit forward. He has this turkey neck, which really, if I were Pierce, just side note, just fashion tip for you: if you have excess fat on your neck, it doesn't help you to wear a choked out collar and a necktie. It's just going to accentuate that jiggling fat under your neck. If I was Pierce, I'd keep it player, but clearly Pierce is not a player. But I'd take off that necktie. I mean, after all, I'm not at work at the Macy's perfume counter. I'd unbutton that shirt like a playboy, you dig? I wouldn't button it all the way down to the belly, to the navel like Andrew Tate. I probably wouldn't do that unless I was Italian, you heard me? But, I'd take it down about 4 buttons, you heard me? Keep it player and carry on.
Ian also said, learn a lot also from your breakdown of the art of war.
Indeed.
Is that something they can find on Patreon?
Yes, for the members at patreon.com/the Saint in the Center, which is linked in the description, I do a very thorough breakdown of a classic text entitled The Art of War by the Master Sun Tzu. And this is a book that you hear a lot about, but very few people actually understand because it's complex yet simple at the same time, and because it's written in poetry, and most importantly because it's written so long ago. So I give a breakdown of it and explain how you can apply it to your life today.
Used directly, so he flew from Romania to sit here in the studio, and the full explosive interview airs later this week. Here's a bit of what's to come. Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old woman...
So first off, when you start off with a question of, do you respect women? There's a presupposition, a suggestion that you don't. And he's asking a fairly basic thing that we would assume everyone already, their answer is, well, yes. And so he asked that question not to actually get an answer, because he knows Andrew's not going to be like, no, I don't respect women. He asked that question so that the viewers will, does he respect women? Why is Piers asking him this? Like, for example, say I was interviewing Piers Morgan, and my first question is, have you ever touched any children? And Piers is like, no, I haven't. But by merit of me asking him, have you ever touched any children? You're like, damn, like, has he been accused of it? Like, what's Piers Morgan been doing? Just by the fact that I asked the question. This is very strategic. This is good quality propaganda. My first thing, as soon as that question was asked, if it were me, my first thing would have said, that's a very strange question, because, most people respect women. I don't know why you would ask me that. Of course I respect women. Here's a great example of that. Do you respect women? I'd flip it right back at him. Do you respect women? Oh, good. Good to hear. And further, I would never bring my brow down, which looks like anger. And one thing you can observe right now in Andrew Tate's face is this is not the look of relaxation. This is not the look of calmness, peace, joy, and tranquility. So he's already losing based on optics. So the gentleman earlier said that he thought Tate did well. No, Tate did terribly. I like Tate, but he did terribly. He underperformed based on the man that he is and how I would like to see him succeed in this kind of an environment. With a guy like Piers Morgan, who's a slithery, snaky, tricky, crafty, cunning kind of fellow, this is the kind of guy where you really want to go in knowing that his goal is to get you off your pivot. He wants you to get angry. He wants you to be manipulated by him. Like, he's utilizing the Master Sun Tzu's tactic. The Master Sun Tzu states, it is upon you to stir without being stirred, which is to say, to stir the emotions of your enemy. Make them unable to think. Make them flustered, but don't allow them to stir you. Look at this face. Andrew Tate has been stirred. Period, full stop. It's very clear. You look on the other side, Piers Morgan, he just looks like he's looking down, reading his notes. He's like, okay, boom, I just got you on that first chess move. He's looking at his notes. What's my next chess move for this boy? And it's just because he's more seasoned.
And are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
I think there's attractive people. That's a loaded question. I don't know.
So right there, you already see he caught him slipping again. Notice, here's a strategy. Pay attention to this. This is really brilliant on the part of Piers Morgan. And to be honest with you, I'd have slaughtered this interview. I ain't gonna lie to you. My interview skills, my media training is far superior to Tate's. I would have slaughtered this shit. Easy work for a boss. You dig? But that's because Tate grew up in the reality TV, the dating show kind of thing. That's how he came up. I came up in politics. You heard me? Like, I came up working in government at some level. You know, I came up kind of with more media training for this kind of thing. So you notice the first two questions that are asked of Andrew Tate, it's an interview, right? You want to hear from Andrew Tate. We're not here to listen to Piers Morgan. We're here to listen to the guest. But yet, Piers Morgan, his first question was a yes or no question. Do you respect women? That's yes or no. Is that what we're here to hear? Yes or no? We're here for that? No. Second question, yes or no question. Do you think that 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women? That's a yes or no question. He's stopping Tate from elaborating by structuring the question in a way that requires you to give a finite yes or no answer. And already Tate's knocked off his pivot because he's kind of like taken aback by the straightaway attack. Because basically Piers has come out with the blitzkrieg. He's shown no respect, no regard, and he's come straight for his neck. And clearly Tate is not quite ready for that.
None of the above said at work, so we'll catch it back. Tuition.
Thank you to those who support the work. Thank you to the real ones, the 1% of viewers who say, hey, you know, I appreciate the information. I appreciate the analysis. I'm going to support it. Thank you very much. It means a lot. Appreciate the loyalty as a man.
No,
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't
You know
say
what?
people.
The 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women.
I think there's attractive people. That's a loaded question. I don't know.
Right there. Listen to the exact response. Quote, Piers says, do you think that, is a straight up question, do you think that 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women? And then Andrew Tate responds, I think that there are attractive people of all, that's a loaded question. Bad response. First off, he asked you a straight question. People respect Andrew Tate because he's a straight shooter. First thing he did was not to address the question straight away, which was, are younger women more attractive than older women? You know, the Andrew Tate, the supervillain we like to see, would have said, hell yeah, bro. Are you telling me you don't like a new car over a used car? You prefer a 1988 car over a 2022 car? That's what I would have said, which is clearly they're more attractive. Let's be real here. And then I would have explained, I would have elaborated, I would have said in the spirit of happiness and entertainment. And I would have forced my explanation. He didn't give him room to give the explanation, but then he got flustered and he said, and then he says, that's a loaded question, which I know what he means when he says loaded question, but what he really should have done is been very descriptive in saying, to set the stage at the beginning, because Piers Morgan already primed the audience on, hey, this guy's wicked. Hey, this guy's controversial. Hey, this guy has a big mouth. Hey, this guy doesn't like women. What Tate would have done cleverly would have been to say, hey, Piers, I know that you're asking me yes or no questions. And, you know, I really like your platform and I want your viewers to be able to get the truth. If you're asking me yes or no questions, I don't think they can really get a sense of what I believe. You know, if you were going to send me a yes or no survey, I could have just filled that out on Google and emailed it back to you. I would have, number one, said that. Then when he asked me that question of, do you think younger women are more attractive than older women, I would have reformulated it firstly. He said, do you think 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds? The reason he used 19, because teen sounds very young, and 25, so he wanted to make it seem like you're kind of like cradle robbing. So I would have said, firstly, what you're essentially asking me, Piers, is are younger women more attractive than older women? Well, let me ask you, if we take it to an extreme and you say you have a woman in her early 20s versus a woman in her early 80s, which woman do you find more attractive? You, of course, find the woman who is younger to be far more attractive. Like, do you like senior citizens, Piers? That's what I would have said. That allows you to utilize humor. That allows you to disarm, that allows you to be funny. And most importantly, you notice every time I respond to his question, I'm asking him a question back. Why? Questions drive conversation. He who asks the questions leads the conversation. Piers, for the first time, would have felt like he was in an interview and I would have roasted his old ass to ashes.
Ahmad said, I had to draw more tuition for the unrivaled game you're blessing us with.
In a real way. Go ahead.
Tara said tuition, peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
And on Cash App, we have Mel said peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints. Thank you to those who support the work you did, because you're getting high-level media training right here. And mind you, I'm not saying what I would have done in an imaginary world. Like, you can look and see me debate intellectuals, you dig, professors, doctors. You can see me speak alongside people who literally are chancellors at top universities who have degrees in astrophysics. Like, I do this, you dig? Carrying on.
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking it?
Of course I do, but I can't sit here and
for
say.
the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm asking, you said this.
Now, let me go back. I want you guys to peep this interaction. Check out this interaction. Listen at how many times Piers cuts him off. It's so disrespectful, and Tate does not call it out. He just kind of takes it. You hear me? Like a chick, like a harlot takes pipe. You hear me? Takes it silently with no complaint, nothing. Doesn't even groan, just taking it. Piers asks him a question while Tate tries to answer the question. He cuts him off, he cuts him off, makes an accusation, then asks another question. Observe. Very, very, very unprofessional of Piers Morgan, but he's winning right now.
19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women.
I think there's attractive people. That's a loaded question. I don't know.
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking it?
Of course I do, but I can't sit here and
for
say.
the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm asking, you said.
See, he cut him off 3 separate times. He asked the question. Tate says he stutters a little bit. He's about to answer, changes his mind. Then he says, that's a loaded question. Then Piers cuts him off, asks him another question. Tate's about to respond. Then he cuts him off again. And now he's about to say, well, you said fill in the blank. So he's really doing a hatchet job on Andrew Tate, and Andrew Tate is allowing it to happen. And if he had media training, which I'm giving you right now, if you're actually picking this up, you dig? I'm giving you one of the best educations in your life, you dig? That's why people say, Marquette, I want to donate to you. No, don't donate to me. I don't need donations. I'm not a homeless man jingling a cup. I'm giving you education. It's tuition. For example, you'll notice that when I'm talking, you can see my teeth. That's not by accident. I don't have bigger teeth than you, but the reason you can see my teeth while I'm talking is because I was a trained actor. I did runway modeling. I have been trained on how to present in front of cameras and audiences. That's why strategically I'm talking with a smile on my face at all times, which looks like I'm having a good time even if I'm not having a good time. That makes you look good during the freeze frame. This right here is a freeze frame. And in this freeze frame, does anyone look good? No. But I tell you who looks displeased. You see a shadow over Tate's eyes, and Tate looks fairly damn serious, right? He doesn't look pleasant at all. And then again, you have crooked nose Piers, and what Piers is over here doing, again, looking at his notes on the next thing he's about to bully Andrew Tate with.
Okay, Michael said, man, shout out to Marquette and Von Burton for this game, the big homie.
Indeed.
Mel said, I have a feeling the full hour-long interview will paint the picture a little different, but still great critiques being given. Peace to the Saints.
You're not about to see that full hour-long interview now, are you? You're just seeing this. And the question for you is this. And I want you guys to all understand this, especially as men. You know, one thing I can tell you about boxing, you know, in my gym, I've gotten, I don't want to say beaten up, but I've taken a lot of punishment in the gym. But when the referee is there and when it counts, in competitions, I always win. And I win fairly easily too, which is to say when it counts, you have to look good, you have to present well. It doesn't matter if there's an hour-long interview if the only interview going around the internet is the 15-minute clip. You got to look good in the sound bites. You got to look good in the clips. So no one cares about that which they can't see. So as men, we have to think about, well, what pays and what plays. Woo, I like that. What pays and what plays. You dig? Carrying on.
Bowie said, peace to the Saints. Pierce unlocked a new level of double speak, quad speak, you dig.
In a real way. And he's roasting Andrew right now.
Harry said, peace to the Saints.
And you know, when I say he's roasting Andrew, I'm not saying he's roasting him with logic or good points. He's not shared any good points or logic. But what he's been able to do is to dominate the conversation and make Andrew Tate look wrong, look frustrated, look like an angry person, look like an unpleasant person. Instead, you really want to stay in that cool pose and keep it player. You want to have a situation where in every situation, you're looking like the guy that everyone wants to be. Right now, you're looking at Tate like, dang, he's in a hot seat. I wouldn't want to be in that position. So he's not really done the right thing with this opportunity.
Okay, Harry said, peace to the Saints.
Peace to the Saints. And so what I'm saying to you essentially is that during this interview, Tate didn't gain any new fans. He might have maintained his existing fans, but he didn't gain any new fans. You know, if I went on there as Tate, my goal would be like, okay, I'm about to go and body Piers. I'm going to do it and make Piers laugh at himself while he's getting bodied. I'm going to charm the audience, and I'm about to convert people. I'm going on here on this bigger platform, and I'm about to win on here. And I got a strategy. Here's a couple points I really need to convey to the audience. Here's some ways I'm going to reply. And one thing I can tell you from training in politics is that just because someone asks you a question doesn't mean that's the question you answer. And you've observed politicians do this all the time. So, for example, when Piers gave the first yes or no question and he said, "Do you respect women?" a clever Andrew Tate would have not even gave it a yes or no. He would have said, you know, I really respect women who are honest, who are, you know, very supportive. And these are the kind of women we want to see more of. These are great mothers. These are great wives. You know, that's the kind of stuff he would have hit him with. It'd have been very strategic and clever. But he basically walked into Pierce's home ground and he allowed Piers to have his way.
Day for day, said keys to the Saints, lifelong gems.
In a real way.
And on Cash App, Dutch said, game too nice, had to do it twice.
You dig. Shout out to the real ones.
This is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right effing now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. People say, oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive.
Number one, visually, look at this. Look at this. I'm going to enlarge this for you. Tate looks bigger than Piers. He looks bigger. This is a good look for Tate. But here's the problem. He's not behaving bigger than Piers. You dig? Piers is showing up bigger than Tate. That's not good. Furthermore, notice the clever way that Piers has structured the conversation. He basically tried to set up Tate. He says, do you think that 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds? Full stop. That's the question. He lets Tate say what he predicts Tate is going to say, and then he continues with a quote from Andrew Tate. So no matter what Tate said, whether he said yes or no, then he follows up with a quotation like, oh, well, you said about 19-year-olds, blah, 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 blah. And of course, he includes some vulgar language to make Tate seem like a lower person. Very strategic. Now, the master Sun Tzu states the following: victory is to he who is superior in pre-engagement calculation, which is to say the plans before the war. And we can clearly see you had to make significant plans to be able to structure a question and say, hey, do you believe in this? And then let them say their answer. And then right after say, well, you said about this. So I don't even care what your answer was because I already had this loaded up to obliterate you. It was a setup. It was a pre-calculation. Very clever on the part of Piers Morgan. And one way that this could be combated by Andrew Tate is not allowing Piers to have so much airtime in the exact same way that Piers is not allowing Andrew to have airtime, keeps cutting him off. There's nothing wrong with cutting Piers off. And I surely would have done it on a consistent basis.
Leon said, peace to the Saints, had to support this high-level game.
Peace to the Saints.
Attracted a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up.
Look at Tate. I mean, he looks like somebody just ran over his goddamn, his pet koala bear. You heard me? Tate looked like he was raised in Australia by some hippies. They gave him a pet koala bear and somebody just ran it over in an RV on accident. And he's there looking at the koala bear body cut in half right now. That's what he looks heartbroken. Not a good look. Number one, if I were Tate, the first thing I would say is this, which is, Piers, I'm here right here in the flesh. Yes, you could read quotations from me, but I'm here. Why don't you just ask me the questions? That's number one. I would take away that power and I would ruin his whole game plan. I'd say, hey, Piers, how about this? From now on, instead of reading your quotations, just ask me the question. I flew all the way from Romania. I didn't fly from Romania for you to read tweets to me. In fact, I don't even need to be here if you're going to read tweets. Just ask me the question. I'll tell you live in the flesh. That would give Andrew Tate the ability to deliver his message in more thoughtful words. And certainly he's speaking in front of an audience that requires a more thoughtful explanation. And damn sure somebody needs to tell Tate to quit making this face like he just walked into a trailer park and saw his redneck girlfriend getting railed by the mailman.
Okay, Hector said, been using the Jab Journal to aid my habit building. Shout out to Mitchell and the big homie. Peace to the MF Saints.
Indeed, peace to the Saints. And if you'd like to get your Jab Journal, you can get that at thesassin.com. thesasn.com, THESASN.com. Get your life in order.
That is misogyny.
Why?
Because you are encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women.
See, I kind of like what Tate did, but I also don't like what Tate did. So you had Piers speak at length, and then he accused, which is something that Tate should have called out, he accused Tate of basically hatred of women. And then Tate said, in a word, why? Which is to say, explain. But the problem is when you ask a guy like Piers Morgan to explain, well, he's never going to tell you the truth. He's going to give his skewed version of reality. So you shouldn't ask him to explain. Rather, what you should do is say, no, you're wrong. Here's why. And you should explain. So he really did not seize the initiative, and he actually handed over and put the ball in Piers Morgan's court, because Piers says, you hate women, and then Tate said, why? When really, when Piers says, you hate women, Tate should have said, oh, that's completely outrageous. I was just with a woman like 10 minutes ago. In fact, there are women waiting for me behind the camera. I love women, actually. So this is the kind of woman I love. How about you? What kind of women do you love? Or do you hate women too? You know, he should have got back at him like that, because this is a very... It's an accusation, it's a lie, it's an exaggeration, it's a misrepresentation, and Tate should have seized upon that. He's playing too nice right now, which this is the thing that I find to be a little weird, because your boy, I'm a real supervillain, you dig? I'm a real supervillain. I'm about to ride this all the way out. We not about to play nice, you dig? I don't care if we're on Piers Morgan, Anderson Cooper, we gonna keep it a buck, we not playing nice. I might not curse as much, but we ain't gonna play nice. But right now he's playing nice and he's really losing at that.
Women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds, and having effectively been having too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
That would, well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
Well, what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny, because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old woman.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny.
No, it's not.
Well, being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
Not when I'm.
This was crazy. Like, Piers is a total nut job. He said being anti any woman is hatred for women. Nah, bruh. That's like saying you cannot dislike an individual because they're female. It's completely illogical. And this is something that Tate was almost about to get at, but he's being too civil, which is strange. You don't expect this from a fighter. I want to see the fighting spirit. And I would have certainly said, well, Piers, you're completely unreasonable. If you think that any statement against a woman is a statement against all women, you're ridiculous. Similarly, Piers, for example, if I said you have a fat turkey neck, that doesn't mean I hate all white men. That means I don't like you and your turkey neck. I'm identifying you as an individual, for example. You know, there's nothing wrong with your turkey neck. I'm just giving you an example. You know, that's something that would have been more sensible.
YKN said tuition, peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints. Came in by a Cash App.
That was a
Super chat.
Screen.
Thank you very much for the support.
Saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age, and saying that
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, then ageist perhaps, but misogynistic absolutely
Is that
not.
what? But you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
If a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has
The funny thing is, Piers just told a bald-faced lie and smiled about it. Piers just stated, you just accepted that you hate women. I'm not using the term they're using because that you actually get shadow banned for these kinds of things. But Piers literally told an actual lie and smiled while he told the lie. And then when Tate tried to call him out, he just carried on as though he didn't say it. I mean, it's really classic mudslinging in politics, which is what Piers is doing. And he's good at this. This is what he does for a living. He interviews people. The ones he agrees with, he makes them look good, gives them airtime. The ones he doesn't agree with, he tries to gaslight them. And I'd say he's doing it fairly effectively with Andrew Tate, and it really kind of annoys me because I don't like to see a strong man look like something other than what he is. And I think Tate is looking quite weak and not together in this interview.
heard those comments.
Yeah.
Would you just say to her, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
No, I won't. I will say that I am sorry that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world.
That doesn't mean you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
Parts of the world that believe.
One thing I like about Tate's position here is that he said, I will not apologize. And that's the most important thing in this era where everyone apologizes. And the funny thing is, even when you apologize, you still get canceled anyway. So there's no sense in backing down. So I like that Tate didn't back down. He held his ground and said, no, I won't apologize. And I don't agree. Now, one thing I'll say is missing right now is where's the fire? People like to listen to Marquette Devon Burton because I'm lit. You heard me? They like to listen to an Andrew Tate because he about to say something crazy. And it's that ingredient that's missing right now. And it almost seems like he's an imitation of himself. It's like somebody sent in the fake Andrew Tate to be Andrew Tate. Someone sent in, do you guys understand what I'm saying here?
Believe that about 26-year-old women are parts of the world where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a conversation.
They have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation.
They're not allowed to drive cars.
That's nothing to do with it.
But is that the kind of world for women that you?
I was mediating a conversation.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I don't live in a country where that happens.
You're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for saying it.
It's not an excuse.
Is that there are parts of the world where this is fine?
My friend.
So my question to you is,
There are two things that I want to recommend to both Tate and you all watching is that one, there's these classic things that I think people might learn in Toastmasters where they think that they look powerful or it's a strong pose, which is not quite the case. So like I think Tate is like doing this classic one like this, which is kind of like a phallic symbol, like a penis-like symbol. He has like his hands resting like this. But what it shows is that you're in a stiff position, you're not relaxed. That's what it actually shows in reality. And a guy like me, I use my hands a lot. You have dimwits on the internet. Oh, why do you talk with your hands so much? That's feminine. No, actually, that's mastery of communication. You look at great communicators like an Adolf Hitler. His gesture is very dramatic, almost like you would see in theater. That's mastery of communication. Further, it's more dominant. You're dominating space. You're expanding yourself. And you look at the lower animals, the blowfish expands to intimidate animals. Size intimidates. Domination of space is intimidating. He's very controlled in his space. And even in this little freeze frame, you just happen to see that Pierce is raising a sword to him with his pen, pointing at him, which is rude in all Western cultures. He's pointing at him unnecessarily. And Andrew Tate is in the same statue pose. He's not really moved. Furthermore, one thing you need to understand with regards to media training is you also need to understand the cameras. He's in a proper studio. There's multiple cameras. They're switching angles. And what's happening is Andrew Tate's eyes are sometimes looking at Pierce when he's talking. They're sometimes looking away. And that's not good because it looks like you're being broken down and intimidated because your eyes are like darting different places, like you're trying to think, or your eyes are being elusive when even though there's multiple cameras, you have to keep a dead gaze on the speaker. You're supposed to pretend the cameras don't exist, dead gaze on the speaker so it doesn't look like you're scared. Because we all know, like, if, say you're in jail and somebody ice grills you, you don't look away. And it's kind of like, somebody's in jail, they ice grill him, he looks away. They're like, oh, I could take this guy's chocolate milk. I could slap his food off of his tray. He's not going to do anything. And thank you to the folks supporting the work. We're going to wind down very soon. So please send in your thoughts, questions, comments as we wind down.
Well, do you think it's fine?
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where
You don't think it's fine?
This
isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what? With the
This is so annoying. I'm almost angry for Andrew, to be honest with you, because Pierce just asked him a question. He says, do you think it's fine? And then Andrew says, I don't think it's fine. And then he interrupts him to repeat his words. Oh, you don't think it's fine? You could simply say, Piers. And then he gives Andrew a script on what he should say. He's literally putting words into Andrew's mouth and telling him what to say. Wow.
benefit of hindsight,
I'm going to rewind
I
that.
think it's fine.
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where
You don't think it's fine?
This
isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what? With the benefit of hindsight, I wish I hadn't said it like that. And if a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually is blatantly misogynist. And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share. Now, I would respect you more if you said that than if you try and say,
First off, Anytime a person who is not respectable says, I would respect you more, what does your respect matter? Your respect is not worth anything. Your respect can't get me on a public bus. Your respect can't get me a free meal. Your respect can't get me hurt or get me saved. You are nobody. You are nothing. And in the case of Piers Morgan, he's a nothing and a nobody. He's a reporter. No one cares about Piers Morgan. We care about the person he's interviewing. And first off, when he mentions respect, you're not a man of respect. Your respect doesn't matter, number one. Then number two, why do you keep cutting me off when I'm trying to answer your questions? Number three, if you would interview me, don't tell me what to say. So you're trying to tell me how to respond to you, which lets me know that you're not here to interview me. You're here to try to destroy my position and then also get me to agree with you, which lets me know that you don't believe in freedom of speech and you don't tolerate any difference of opinion. So you're actually the dangerous one. So then I would start building him as a dangerous character. I was like, you know what kind of people don't like freedom of speech? The Chinese Communist Party. You know what people who hate freedom of speech? Vladimir Putin. Dictators hate freedom of speech. Adolf Hitler hates freedom of speech. Fidel Castro's opponents were jailed. That's what you're doing. You're trying to take away my freedom of speech, and you're even trying to put words in my mouth. I would start flipping the script really vehemently right now.
Well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think
That doesn't tell me what you think.
then you need to understand why my content existed in the first place. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable.
Is that a truth?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about.
An inquest this week found that
Cut him off again. It's just like amazing how many cutoffs. And let me clue in the imbeciles on the internet who will watch me and say, Marquette, you're so emotional. You emotional. That's feminine. No, emotions are not feminine. Emotions are human, actually. And sometimes when you don't display emotions, you're losing. You're actually misrepresenting yourself. Like, for example, if I were to see a girl die in front of me, an innocent girl, and I displayed no emotions, that would be inhuman and I would actually look bad. You know, emotions are human. Emotions are appropriate, and you should be selecting emotions. It is not masculine to have no emotions. It is masculine to lead with rationality and to select emotions and also to have passion. And I think one of the ways in which Tate is losing during this interview is no one is carried away by a leader who lacks passion. If you would ever watch an Adolf Hitler speech, you don't even need to speak German. You can see that the boy is serious about what he's saying. You're like, I don't even know what bruh said, but sign me up. He talking reckless. I love it. You know, he's so lit that you get swept away because he's so into it. Emotion is critical. And what you're seeing is that Tate is performing like a dispassionate statue, and he's being destroyed by Piers Morgan, which is a pity because Piers Morgan is a gray-haired, old, fat, turkey neck little guy who's very feminine. It hurts my heart.
14-year-old girl, Molly Russell, died from an active self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. The coroner said she was exposed to material that may have influenced her in a negative way, and in addition, what started as depression had become a much more serious depressive illness, and she very sadly took her life.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Right. Her father,
terrible.
Her father's campaign for better protections against potentially dangerous social media algorithms, right? It says that
What I would have did right here would have been the most viral moment that you would have ever seen on a Piers Morgan show. I would have immediately said, you know, Piers, that's such a sad thing. I'm really sorry to hear that this girl is dead. That's number one. Number two, I'd also like to study her parents and figure out, like, you know, where was the breakdown in them supporting her. But most importantly, Piers, hold on, let me finish, Piers, is I want to know, why are you trying to use a girl who died of suicide to make me look bad? This has nothing to do with Andrew Tate. This has nothing to do with my content. You're bringing up a girl who committed suicide, which is a tragedy, and you're using her for your own political gain right now so you can try to make me look bad, even though this is completely unrelated. There's no one on the planet Earth that thinks the suicide of a little girl is not sad. You know I think this is sad, and you know this has nothing to do with me, but by bringing it up right now, you're trying to associate this with me, and that's truly evil. You're using the death of a little girl to try to forward your point, Piers. You're a dirtbag. And right then, I would have turned it on him so vicious, and I would have said, any girl who ends up dying from social media, I want them to know that it's people like you who are using their deaths. You're using her death for clickbait. You're using her death to throw dirt. I would have roasted him right there. That would have been the moment. You heard me? That would have been the moment. They'd have cut that whole shit out the interview. But look, Saints, I'll give you a little bit of time to send in your thoughts, questions, comments as we wind down. I didn't even actually get to get through the full video. If you guys think I need to do a part 2, go ahead and send that